Hey everyone, this is Crime Chronicles. Here I'll be sharing with you true stories about murder cases, strange historical events, haunted places, and all those stories that make us stop and ask, what's going on with people? Warning, some of these stories may contain violence or disturbing details. Please check the episode description first to make sure it's right for you. All right, let's get into today's story. It was 1963. A 15-year-old boy was living with his grandparents on a remote farm in California. One day, after an argument with his grandmother, he picked up a rifle, ironically a gift from his grandfather, and shot her. She collapsed instantly. To make sure she was dead, he fired multiple rounds into her chest. When his grandfather returned home a short while later, the boy waited outside and shot him too, later saying he didn't want his grandfather to suffer the shock of discovering his wife's death. Afterwards, he calmly called his mother, confessed everything, and then phoned the police, waiting for them to arrive. That boy was Edmund Kemper, or Ed, who would go on to become one of America's most notorious serial killers in the 1970s. This was his very first murder, but it wouldn't be his last. Ed was highly intelligent with an IQ of 145, classified as a genius, but his childhood was filled with trauma. Born in 1948, his parents' marriage was unstable. He had two sisters and a deeply troubled relationship with his mother, who was strict, cold, and an alcoholic. According to Ed, she often mocked him for his size and kept him isolated in the basement at night, locking him away out of fear that he might harm his sisters, despite no evidence of such behavior. He grew up lonely, angry, and surrounded by nightmares. He mutilated his sister's dolls, played disturbing games pretending to be executed, and later escalated to killing animals, classic early signs seen in many future killers. At just 10 years old, he killed the family cat. Later, he did the same to another cat with an axe. These disturbing acts gave him a taste of control and violence. After years of conflict, he ran away to live with his father, but soon he was sent to his grandparents' farm, where life wasn't much better. His grandmother was controlling, and tensions constantly grew. Finally, his rage exploded, and he killed both grandparents. He was arrested and sent to a psychiatric facility instead of juvenile detention. Diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, he spent 5 years there. Despite medical warnings, he was released at 21, straight back into his mother's custody. On the surface, Ed seemed reformed. He even tried joining the police but was rejected, ironically not because of his criminal past, but because of his enormous size. He stood over 6 feet 9 inches tall. He instead worked for the highway department. But beneath that calm exterior, his violent urges were growing. By the early 1970s, Ed started picking up female hitchhikers. At first, he drove them safely to their destinations. He later admitted he did this over 100 times, testing ways to gain their trust. He studied body language, practiced manipulation, and perfected how to appear harmless. But in May 1972, things escalated. Ed picked up 2 college students, Marianne and Anita. Under threat of a gun, he kidnapped them, ultimately murdering both. He dismembered their bodies and disposed of the remains. Only some were ever found. From there, his crimes spiraled. Over the next year, he lured, killed, and mutilated several more young women. His methods became increasingly disturbing, and his obsession with control and domination grew darker. But in April 1973, his rage turned toward the person he hated most, his mother. After years of resentment, Ed killed her while she slept, striking her with a hammer and decapitating her. In a grotesque display of revenge, he desecrated her remains and later said that she had always been his true target. That same night, he also martyred his mother's best friend who had come to visit. The next day, Ed fled the city, but instead of hiding, he drove aimlessly and then did something shocking. he called the police and turned himself in, confessing to everything in chilling detail. At trial, his defense argued insanity, but he was found legally sane and convicted of 8 murders. Instead of the death penalty, he received 8 life sentences, which he is still serving today at California Medical Facility. Now in his 70s, Kemper has given numerous interviews, even helping the FBI develop criminal profiling techniques. Despite his horrific crimes, his cooperation has made him a well-known figure in the study of criminal psychology. And that is the terrifying story of Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer. If you found this story intriguing, or if it left you saying, "What's wrong with people?" don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have a story you'd like us to cover, send us your suggestions. Stay tuned for the next case on Crime Chronicles.